Hey, welcome to another episode of Mr. Gabriel's Auto Talk. I'm your host, Ranger Bob. Hey, I wanted to talk to you guys about something. I was grading your papers yesterday. A lot of you had a question that was answered wrong, and let me look at my notes over here on the question that you had. The question that I asked you was, what part of the AC removes any water or moisture that has entered the system? The key word there, system. When you guys take your ASE exams, they're going to try to trick you on those kind of questions. You really need to read that question really good, or you're going to have a hard time with that test. In that question, the key word was system. We're not talking about the interior of the car. So a bunch of you answered that question with the evaporator. And although that's true, the evaporator does remove heat, it does remove moisture, but not from the system. It removes it from the cabin. So let's go over that just one more time and make sure we're clear on that. So an air conditioner, it has to do four things. It's got to cool the air, it's got to dehumidify, it has to dry the air, it has to clean, because many of them have filters, cabin filters. And then, of course, it's got to circulate the air. It's got to move it through the car for you. So when I ask this question about what part of the AC removes water or moisture, I'm asking about the system, not the cabin. So the correct answer would have been dryer. So let's talk about a dryer for a minute. The dryer, there's three jobs that it has to do. It's got to store, it's got to filter, and it's got to dry. Now let's talk about the storage. It has to store the oil and the refrigerant and keep the liquid refrigerant from getting into the compressor. We don't want liquid getting into the compressor because we can't compress a solid. We can't compress that. If it did get in there, you could ruin a compressor, just like if you had excessive oil getting in on top of the piston of an engine, you're going to destroy the engine. So we need this dryer to hold on to the refrigerant until it turns back to a gas. Now it's going to turn into a gas because they mount this inside under the hood. So of course just the warm air from the engine is going to heat this thing up, and that'll turn the refrigerant back into a gas. Then it can go through the air compressor. So the second part of it that I was telling you it does is it has to filter it. If you get any type of a part failure, if the compressor starts wearing, if you have something inside the condenser that starts to get contaminated, it has to filter that debris out, just like an oil filter does to an engine. Of course, your oil filter on an engine filters out the trash. That's the thing that this filter dryer does. Now, the last part of it is it absorbs moisture from the system. It does. It pulls the water, the moisture out of the air conditioning system. So I want you to pay attention. When I ask you a question, read the question thoroughly. Make sure you understand what it's asking you. So hopefully that clears this up on that question, and of course what the evaporator does and what the dryer does. The other thing that I want to cover with you is one of the videos that I have posted for you is a Ford training video, and in that video they use this Robin air machine. And the gentleman that did it did a fine job, nothing wrong with it. So I'm not going to go over the use of this machine. You can diagnose a lot with them, but considering these machines cost anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000, you're not going to have one of these. Unless you work in a shop, you're not going to have one of these machines. One of the things you will have, though, is if you go to the auto parts store and you want to add Freon to your car, you can buy that. You can buy those little retro kits. So I'm going to make a video and I'm going to show you guys how to do that properly, because I don't want any of you getting hurt. It's real easy to get hurt with that stuff because when it gets released out, it's freezing. So it could freeze a finger. Of course, you need to be wearing your safety glasses. If you're not, it could get in your eyes and you could have permanent damage. So I want to make sure that I make a video and show you guys how to use that wisely. Now, that's not the best way. I'm not saying that that's the way it should be done, but we all know that most people do it like that. So I figure I probably ought to make a video and show you how to make that, how to use that properly. I want to cover just a few more things that I didn't go over yesterday. Even though we talked about this complete air conditioning system, you do need to realize that it's not just refrigerant you have running through all of these parts. We have to have some type of an oil to run through the system to keep this compressor lubricated. And of course, it helps lubricate the O-rings that's inside of it, all of the seals. Let's talk about the different kinds of oil. Of course, there's more than just what I've got here, but as you can see, I've got an oil here. This one's called ester, which an ester oil, it will mix with both R12 and R134. It is a synthetic oil, but it will mix. The reason why I bring that up is if you have an older system like an R12, it used a mineral oil, and that mineral oil will not mix with R134. So if you make a mistake and put the wrong oil or the wrong Freon in something, you can cause a lot of problems. When they went to R134, they went to a PAG oil, which the PAG stands for polyethylene glycol. And the 46 is just the weight. I taught you guys all about engine oils, and this works the same way. The higher the number, the thicker the oil. So, of course, a PAG 100 is going to be thicker than a PAG 46. Most of your cars are going to use a PAG 46. That's pretty common across all the manufacturers. And, of course, everybody has their own brand. This is a Johnson's brand. This is a Napa brand. We're going to electric compressors. You'll probably, these are going to be phased out eventually. We're also phasing out R134. You're going to see R134 go away in 2021. There's already a push to go to the R1234Y Freon, and of course we're using it right now, but as we go to better systems, you're going to see that phased out as well. So one of the other things I want to bring up before I let you guys go today, if you noticed, see these different color O-rings? I want you to know that the black O-rings, they were originally made for R12. They weren't meant for R134. If you see a green O-ring, that is meant for R134. It's R134 compliant. That is important because as you run this Freon with this PAG 46 oil, that will destroy these O-rings. You will have leaks. If you're running these black O-rings and you're running this PAG 46 oil, you're probably going to destroy these O-rings and you'll have a leak. And of course, if you lose your Freon, you're going to lose your cooling. So that's going to be the last I want to tell you about today. I just wanted to clear that up on that question. I don't want you guys to worry. I'm not going to count off for that because that was pretty much across the board. All of y'all missed that. So I feel more like that was my mistake, not your mistake. I must not have covered it well enough. Just remember that, though. I did have somebody that answered heater core, and that's completely the opposite. A heater makes heat, and an evaporator removes heat. So in the summertime, you want to remove heat. You don't want heat in your car. In the wintertime, you want heat in your car, so the heater makes heat. So for you that answered it that way, you're completely backwards. So anyway, for now, that's all for Ranger Bob. I'll see you tomorrow.